Okay, again, a very good afternoon from Canningville, the Aussies branch that is, and I'm Dharmindher. We've spoken about a couple of things before. Today, we're going to be talking about something really very close to home, which is the Western Australian state nomination round. What is it? How is it? What's the composition? Why some of you didn't get an invitation? And why some of you who did, what do you need to do next? And for those who are from another state, what do you really need to do to try to be in a better position to perhaps get an invitation for either the 190 or the 491? These numbers, they do mean something. Now, if you were remotely interested to know everything about the Western Australian state nomination, this is what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so buckle up again. Here we go. So we've got some very interesting stuff to talk about. So I'm going to give you a brief summary of some of the topics that we're going to be touching upon. We're going to talk about the recent round, meaning the one that just happened in October. And we're going to talk about the new occupation lists and some of them that were added to. What are they and what, if you are in that group, what does it mean for you? We are also going to talk about the all-important, very hot topic, Section 48. What is it? How is it? Has been lifted? Not been lifted? And how does it impact me? And all of that. So we're going to be talking about that too, as well as the invitation round, the ranking system of this. Because I've highlighted these four things. Why? Because I find that these are the four things that a lot of people have questions about, because they've read almost the same thing that we have read from the state nomination side. They've looked at it, they've taken pictures, they've discussed among their friends and their whoever family, and when they come and see me, and I'm like, well, hang on, have you read the same thing? And I show them the screen. I says, let's look at it together. It's so amazing that it's a different interpretation. So this is what we're going to be talking about as well. And the fourth topic, which is the ranking system, what and how it applies to you, because that changed about a week and a half ago. So without further ado, I have my faithful colleague who's going to be reading up some of your questions later. Her name is Anna. And so if you already have some questions, hold on to your questions. What we're going to do is go into a few minutes of this and discuss just the rudimentary aspects of what Western Australian state nomination is and what is it all about. So let's talk about, firstly, the recent round. As you all know, when they invited the applications, invitations on those people who were in September round never really happened. Well, it did, but the invitation happened on the 1st of October. So in October, funny enough, you can actually say there were 3 invitations, actually. So October 1st was actually for September, and then we had one about a week and a half ago, and then one on last Friday. So actually 3 rounds went on. Quite interesting. Which goes to show it is so hard to predict. People asking, oh, so clients call and they always ask, oh, when's the invitation round going to be? Is it the 20th of every month? Is it going to be today? Is it going to be tomorrow? Really, nobody knows. And it's not one. They actually had 2. So just be mindful of that at the same time. So once, when the round went off, it was a pretty big round this time around. So they invited a whole host of different occupations. We can go into that as well. But what we want to discuss is how, I've got a list down here actually, some of the occupations that were added. So the following occupations are now available. Of course, social worker is, and a few more were added onto the graduate occupation list. And I'm going to read just the popular ones, right? Of course, the accountants, you're back on the GOL, which is a graduate occupation list. We have a few architects, they're back as well. Early childhood, pre-primary school teacher, educational psychologists, the financial brokers, dealers, and investment advisors, they are back, which is brilliant. I have a few assessments for those people. Now they can come back and do that again. Don't ask me why a flying instructor and a horse trainer is still there. Somehow or other, they're still there. And now if you're a maintenance planner, management accountant, you're there. This is what I like, the org health and safety advisor. So you are back onto the list. Primary school teacher, secondary school teacher, and taxation accountant, and just to say a few of those, right? So basically, all of these are back onto the new occupation list. Now, if you are in one of those, and if your occupation was on the GOL, you already know that there is a general stream and then the graduate stream. So just be mindful first, because your occupation, if you are a graduate investor in Australia, as in you've finished 2 years of study, then your occupation actually in some cases can be like accountants. It's on both ways, right? You could be on the general stream as well as the graduate stream. So obviously you want to try to go and be eligible and applying under the graduate stream if you are a graduate from down here, because take all those examples for those people. So if you're a graduate, the good thing is upon invitation, then you need to have either, obviously you've got 28 days to accept this invitation. You need to demonstrate that you've either worked 6 months in that occupation, nominated occupation, or closely related, or you go and get what is called, we've discussed this so many times, but I have to stress, maybe for some listeners listening in, maybe not aware of this, you have to get a job offer letter / contract for 6 months. It's very specific. It's got to be 35 hours a week, full-time, from someone who's already established for more than 12 months. Your duties, responsibilities, your salary, and all of those things must actually, commensurate not just with your skills, but with what's regarded as what you would otherwise be paid normally at the same time. So you can't say, for example, you've got a job, or you've got an invitation as an accountant, but you're being paid $45,000, because that's not the market rate. So you must be mindful of those sort of things, which we don't really want to go into. But today is just more of an idea of what WA invitation is all about. So if you're on a graduate stream, it's 6 months. If you're in a general stream, and also accountants, meaning that you are probably not a person who graduated from WA, then yes, you are eligible. And I have a few of people, not just in accountants, but in other occupations, in IT as well, and in engineering, who were invited. And we'll go into immediately, probably for some of you thinking, hang on, how is it that they got invited? I'm sure I'm going to get questions. I'm on 85, 90, 95 points. I'm sitting in Melbourne, Sydney, or wherever you are. How come I didn't get an invite? I'll go into that later. But I just want to talk about, if you're a general stream applicant and you were invited, then upon invitation, yes, same thing applies. You need 28 days to accept the invitation, and you have to produce a job offer letter contract for 1 year. Now, if you are obviously not from here and you don't call me, like I've had some calls from some people and say, oh, I've seen you on Facebook, blah, blah, I know you, and I've got an invitation. Oh, okay, fantastic, congrats. He says, oh, do you have a job offer? I'm like, that's not what we do, right? So we don't tell you that. I don't know of anyone who can do that. So that's where you come into the picture. You find out whoever you know and however industrious and desperate, if you want to call it, you're going to be to get the all-important job offer. Without that, your application doesn't go anywhere. And by the way, if you get invited and if you don't accept this within the 28 days because you cannot produce this all-important job offer letter contract, then that invitation just dies. Okay, nothing happens to it, it just subsides. Worse still, if it's a 190, you will move mountains to get that all-important job offer, because that's a 190 invitation, which is the cream de la cream, isn't it? Because it's a 2 years visa and blah, blah, blah. So just start thinking that if you are already working for the graduate occupation list, then that's fine. When you're invited, we add what is called an addendum or a letter on top of your existing contract from your employer to say, yes, you're currently still working. This is further to say that upon No longer we want to use things like upon the grant of your visa and all of that, but there's certain ways about it. I don't want to comment that online or on air, I should say. So you really need a letter for or endorsement from an employer that says, yes, you will be working for the next 6 months. Again, I stress, and I don't mind saying this again, if you are already working in WA and you are invited under the graduate occupation list, then accepting that merely has to be that your duties, responsibilities, your salary, everything else checks out. And then there's another letter that we get, which is a third-party letter from the employer. We'll explain that later. Is how this thing goes on, and then an approval can be 1.5, 2 months perhaps for them to decide. And once it's okay, they say, here you go. If it's a 190 or 491, whatever the case is, then upon you accepting it, your invitation is locked or to an approval. Then that next question everybody usually asks is, oh, if I got a 491 invitation, if I accept this now, can I get a 190? If you accept it and it's locked on a 491, we've been told, and you all know as well, for that rest of the calendar year, you can't be invited again for the 190. So just bear that in mind, right? So decide which one you want to. And if you think you don't mind 491, you already know what 491 is. I don't want to go into that, but I just want to explain that's how that works in one calendar year. So if you understand all of that, then, and you also know that your occupation is perhaps a new one on the graduate occupation list that I just mentioned, which really the highlight of all of that is accountants, taxation, and there were a fair few of them, I should say, who were actually invited in the last round, which is brilliant. A lot of very happy clients, excellent. And some of them already have a job, brilliant, right? So what I want to talk to you very quickly next would be the Section 48. Okay, now Section 48, as I'm just about to go into that, I got to bear in mind, if you have any other questions about the recent round and the new occupation list, which you already know, if you want to have a particular pointed question on that, feel free to ask me. See, Section 48 has been a very interesting one, where previously, if you were Section 48 bar, meaning you had applied for some visa, or you were on AAT, or you had a refusal, or you are waiting for something, it just means that you cannot lodge an application onshore. That's just what it means. And because of the situation that we were in, the miserable lockdown and whatnot, and we can't travel and everything else, which meant that even in the event if you were inadvertently invited by any state, Section 48 bar just prevents you from lodging an application onshore. That's just what it meant. But because you couldn't travel, so you couldn't even accept, meaning that in order to accept that, you have to go offshore to lodge. When you go offshore, you can't come back, isn't it? So that's what really the whole issue was around Section 48 as far as we are concerned. So what has also come into light is there were a lot of skilled people who, for various reasons, beyond their control or whatever factors, are skilled, are working, employers are sponsoring them, everything else is happening. They've launched multiple EOIs in different states. I'm talking mainly now in WA for a second. Now, WA had this policy, if you want to call it that, if you are somehow invited through the system, and if WA realizes that, oops, hang on, you are Section 48 bar, the application would not proceed. They just don't. That's WA's policy, right? WA state nomination policy, that is. Now, that all has and will stop, change, cease, whatever you want to call it, as of November 13. Woohoo! I can hear people Section 48 as far away as Whoop Whoop and Bindun and wherever that you are, jumping for joy, saying that, oh, I can finally apply this down here. Yes, you can. Meaning, if now you have an EOI, or better still, like some of my clients, if you're listening, you know exactly, because I spoke to you guys specifically after getting up from a very bad hay fever on a Saturday and telling you that Section 48 bar doesn't apply to you and you were jumping for joy. That's exactly what it means. For those who were invited, and if you wanted to now go ahead with this, yes, after November 13, No problems. You lodge, you apply, then your application just gets some traction and you can move on, gladfully, and everything else that we spoke about in terms of the contract, in terms of everything else is good for you. So you are eligible to apply this onshore. Very, very good news, by the way, because there's a lot of people who just want to be given a chance to apply. And I think if you do the statistics, there must be somebody somewhere in policy within the department would have realized that, oops, not many people are coming in because of what was happening lately. And there are so many skilled people down here. And there's invitations happening and what have you. And there are a very good group of people who are searching for IRBA who are unable to apply. So it's fair to say that this thing has happened for good reason. And I'm really happy for you guys, in many regards. So when you do get this invitation, what it really means is you are eligible to apply. Now, if you are section for IRBA and if you're still not quite certain how it applies to you, or now you suddenly realize, if you already have a skills assessment, you want to put in an EOI, or if you have and you've been invited in this last round because you have this 28 days, contact me, no problems. I'll tell you what you need to do to just move along in that regard, just in case you still are confused. Because I think I had three clients walk in today who all had various issues, and two of them already were invited. So very happy for them. So there is possibility, but you need to start asking the right questions. So that's section 48. I'm sure I'm going to get a question or two later online. Now, what I'm going to be talking next is what I think is really, really important, which is the invitation round and its ranking system. Now, invitation rounds got ranking system. We've spoken about this in so many ways, in so many regards. Every time the invitation goes out. Now, how shall I say this, right? So, I've drawn a little diagram for myself, so to schematically try to put this information across to you guys. Now, what I'm going to talk about firstly is the general stream. The general stream of applicants who probably as of a week and a half ago, perhaps never saw the updates given by the department, which is the State Department. So they are wondering, how is it that I don't get an invite 95 points as a IC project manager or whatever your occupation is? And you're thinking, why am I not getting an invite? Because now they have said they're going to put them in ranking. They're going to say that if you, under the general stream, if you are currently residing in Western Australia, and only if you are currently residing in Western Australia, now they're going to give you preference in terms of your ranking in attracting an invitation. So previously, because you were not, and because you could apply under the general stream, and you said, fine, fantastic, I got 100 points, 105 points, or whatever. Now you are not going to be invited even on 105 points against someone who has got, say, 75 or 80 points, but that person happened to be residing down here. Your 105 points means nothing to this person who's on 80 points or 75 points for that matter. They're just going to outrank you in its invitation. Super important, right? The minute some clients knew that, or some people knew that, they found ways, whatever that was permissible based on the quarantines and restrictions and whatnot, they moved here. They moved to WA because you have to take that. You're a resident down here. So if you are a resident, no shortcuts, no, hey, my friend's living there, I'm going to use this address and all that. Good luck to those people who want to do that, because it will come and bite you in the wrong way. Then when you show that, you are automatically in a better position based on the ranking that I just spoke about for an invitation. Now, wouldn't you want to do that? Wouldn't you want to do that if you're on 95, 100 points, sitting, waiting, your visa is about to expire, and you want to apply under the general stream for a 190? That's brilliant. 95 points with the 5 from the state, that's 100 points. That is almost a guarantee based on how the invitation seems to be coming, based on the last round at the same time. So remember, it doesn't matter how high your EOI points are, or when you lodged your EOI. Because some people can say, so I've lodged this for 7 months ago, 8 months ago, big deal. Based on this thing, they have realized that, hey, hang on, I don't know, maybe best known to them, they figured, oh, let's just give preference to people who have actually come here, resided down here, or residing down here, and has actually got a job offer at the same time. Because when you are invited, what do you need? You need a 1-year job offer, contract letter. And can I just stress that again? It's a job offer letter means if you are invited today, you have 28 days. Let's say today is the 3rd of November. Can you really say, well, I'm going to start in April, May, June next year? Don't think so, though. I think right now the move is, or the feel is, you need a job offer letter now. So if you're already residing, by the way, if you're invited or for whatever various reason, even if you went on to say first week of January, it's still okay. It's not a problem because people can make those adjustments. That's within reason. That's within the 3 months of at least saying that upon invitation, or you should be in a position to be getting that. So I think that's a it's a safer bet to have. I'm a fan of that. So if you are in a quandary, if you are in a situation, what shall I use? When shall I use it? This is what you need to bear in mind. Now, what they've also done is, so that part of general stream is okay, then they are fine. Graduate stream, you already know that if you're a graduate, you're invited 6 months and so forth. There's some things some graduates are not aware. They would have realized, oh, well, they couldn't find a job here. For whatever various reasons, they got a job in another state. And they left. They're a graduate here, they left. They put an EOI. And they goes, I got to go get a job. I got to finally put my degree, my whatever into some sort of experience, practical stuff. So they went. They got a job. They're working. Everything else is good. But if you're not currently residing in Australia, as in Western Australia, again, even on the graduate occupation stream, you get outrun, outbid, out hustled, muscled, whatever you want to call it, by someone who is a resident down here. So be careful of that at the same time, because you are also going to be ranked in that basis. So if you're currently in another state because of factors that such a good job, you don't want to lose the job, but then you're risking the part of being invited from the own state in which you graduated, then you should try to find ways of being very imaginative, I should say very politely, to demonstrate that you are still here in WA, all right? Because you really need to, because you gotta show that you are down here. Then I leave that to your imagination. Now, the other part where, and the same thing applies to both the VET stream as well as the professional stream, right? So if you're a resident down here, that's how you're rung, okay? Now, some people have asked us very pointed questions as to why is it that someone on 80 points have been invited as opposed to someone on 95 points, or well, 95 is pushing it. How someone on 75 points have been invited, and how someone on 85 haven't been invited. Just compare that. 75 invited, 85 no invitations. What's going on? How long? And all of that. Don't make all these funny comparisons. Just try to understand that if you did a trade course, you did a certificate 3, 4, a diploma, you applied your 485, and maybe you went on to do an advanced diploma, perhaps, because you felt that, ooh, advanced diploma might give me a bit of an edge to solicit an invitation, because that's been happening with a lot of people. And you went to do an advanced diploma as well, and you're sitting on 85 points. Let's say you're a chef, which is the case for a lot of you, because you're not getting an invitation on 80 or 80, 75 points, and you heard that, oh, I better do an advanced diploma, which you've done, which is fine, but you don't get an invite, as opposed to someone who's on 75 points or 80 points maybe. But because they've done a master's, PhD, maybe very rare, or bachelor's, they will automatically outrank you in terms of invitation. That's what seemingly is happening. So I cannot say it in any other way, but that's exactly how and why it's called skill select. They're going to invite you based on that particular information, on your age, on your English proficiency, yes, but mainly on your occupation. Sorry, and your qualifications at the same time. So a lot of people were doing, oh my God, the health administration leadership, and that very long, ridiculous, no use title that they have studied, but they ended up doing a concurrent course in a trade course or something. But because they've got a master's qualification, they managed to finish their studies. They managed to do the jobbery program if it's a trade course, or if they wanted to do something else that didn't require a trade course, they have applied. They will get an invitation ahead of you, unfortunately. Just thought I'd let you know, right? Now, even that affects your invitation in terms of your general stream or your graduate occupational stream. So now just remember, I have got clients who I cannot name this fellow, but this was very interesting. Civil engineering draftsperson, that much I can say. Studied 2 years, did a skills assessment, didn't have to do a job ready program, had exactly 50 points. With the state, 15 made 65 points. Put it in application. This was in the last round, last calendar year, by the way, not this one, so don't quote me on that. Had an invitation immediately for 491. Didn't even think twice because it doesn't qualify for the 190. Accepted it, lodged the application. Within a month and a half of lodging, 491 granted, as opposed to those people who are waiting 17, 18, 20 months on a 491 for all those accountants and all the other occupations. They're waiting, what's going on in my 491? So it's a bit of an issue. Meaning that if you have that minimal points, sometimes luck plays a hand in your applications at the same time. I'm sure we're going to get questions. I probably already have, but before I go into that, I want to just talk about something that just came to my attention from a client who came in yesterday. I cannot make this thing up. This is live, okay? This person had an invitation, got accepted 16 months ago in general accountant, no problems, lodged, waiting 16 months, exactly 16 months. And as luck would have it, got invited in this last round for a 190 because it's a new calendar year. So it was like, wow, brilliant, double whammy, right? 16 months waiting for a 491 that hasn't even been granted. No request for any information just yet. Listen to me very carefully. As I said to you, you can be invited once in each calendar year. So now got invited for 190. Did the EOI themselves, lodged everything by themselves. And then whilst wondering why the 491 wasn't moving, I said, let's look into how you got the EOI. What did you claim? What you didn't? So one of the key requirements here, I think this must be the highlight of what I'm going to be talking about today, and among other things, is when you claim points, that because you are so smart to do your EOI yourself, you claim that you studied 2 years in Western Australia, which is a prerequisite to apply under the graduate occupation stream, correct? Now, if you've studied 3 months in another university and you've come down here because you finished the course down here, and you rightfully thought, wow, I want to make my case as strong as possible, I'm going to write and claim regional study in WA, but in actual fact you studied in Victoria or Sydney, right, which is not regional, right? And you claim your EOI is dead. You've been waiting 16 months for something that is not going to see the light of the day, and sadly you have a 190 invitation that you've done the same mistake. So I felt very bad for the client, but at the same time I thought, hey, you know what? You should have come down. You should have sought someone's opinion. No one is an expert. We're not patting our back and saying we are an expert. No, but at least when you speak to someone, when you hear, And this is just through a normal consultation that I picked this thing up. And it's like, hey, hang on, let me just find out, let me just dig a little bit more. The client was just beyond belief that this is what's happened. So that's all sad. There's a way we are fixing it, but that's a subject for another matters. But just remember how you claim your point, what you say, what and how matters so far as all those things we're talking about, the recent round, how many points, what occupations and job offers and all that. That's all important. But what you claim is equally important. If you cannot back up, if you cannot verify, please don't just put it just for the fun of it. And how can you claim you have 5 years of overseas experience when in actual fact, when you actually do count something and you just count, well, hang on, it's not even in a related occupation, not even in a related field. You're claiming 10 points for overseas experience when in actual fact it's 0, is no longer. So that was, I felt really, really bad. So don't make those kind of, textbook, schoolboy mistakes, right? So come to us, talk to me if you really want to. Speaking of talk, I think I shall just be quiet for now. We might have some questions on this. And I'll just readjust myself in this wonderful velvety chair and see what sort of questions we have. I'm sure we do. How are we doing, Anna? What sort of questions have we got?
We've got many questions.
Questions. You guys are not going to let me go today. You guys are going to bombard me with questions. Bring it on. I'm in the mood.
Okay. Let me just start off with the WA related one.
Okay.
Monica Verma, what
Monica.
What are the chances of getting nomination as a painting trades worker with 80 points for 190 WA?
Very good chance if you are residing in WA. Now, if you are, because you are under the general stream, I certainly believe, then you need to be residing here to stand a better chance, which is what I've just mentioned to you on the ranking system. That is just going to make your life much more better. And you can then paint a very good picture for your invitation. How is that?
I think most of the questions are like if they are residing in New South Wales or Victoria, and if they have 80 points, and then what are the chances? So basically,
so that's good. I like how what you've done, right? Because then what we're going to try to do is try to get through as many questions as possible. So what Anna has done, she's just look at a broad brush.
I'll just quickly read some of the questions. So Gary, same thing. He's New South Wales chef, got 80 points, but he's in New South Wales. Carpentry 190, 85 points. So they are residing in Sydney. Another one is 100 points for accounting. Working for a company in Perth, but currently in Sydney. So we have got a lot of questions like this.
So that's exactly why if you put those questions, and thank you for them, by the way, it's precisely what I think I've already covered in, I think, my 4th point, which is there's a ranking system here, and that's in place. I don't make this thing up. It's literally there, which I took it obviously from the WA side. And that's why exactly what they're saying. This is if you are currently residing here, that is going to tip you. So if you're not, you got 100 points in accounting, you got 85 points in Sydney, you are doing this and that, the other. Wow, good for you. But if you're not here, and someone who has in the same circumstances that you are in happen to then say, look at this, I'm going to move down here, and they have. Their residence down here is going to pip you for an invitation. Cannot sugarcoat this any other manner. You are just wasting your time. If you are unable to then reside or move for whatever the borders or Mr. McGovern allows you to do before the hard border stuff goes on. So you've got to be here to stand a better chance, is what I'm saying.
Same thing from Akash. He's at 105 points with ICT security occupation in Victoria. So is it possible for him to come to WA at the moment?
Come to WA. My house needs ICT things being fixed. What's his name? Akash?
Akash.
Akash?
Yeah.
No, Akash, I mean, 105 points, that's serious points, all right? If you move here, if you are residing here and you are clearly mentioning that in your EOI, you mark my words, the next round, if you don't get an invitation, somebody's going to get hurt real bad. I thought I'd say that live. How funny is that? For those who are Russell Peters fans, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
So at the moment, isn't Victoria high risk? So
no, so that's between the states to decide how high risk, whether you're allowed to and whatnot. It is high risk, and if whatever the borders between WA and every other state is allowing you to come here, then you come here, then you move here, then you register.
So once they are permitted to come here, then they come.
Exactly. And I tell you what, you will, because don't worry about, what's the quota, WA has got this and that, 1,004, what's going to happen. Let's say the last few rounds they have invited more than 2,100 invitations for 190, which is more than the quota that WA has combined, right? Don't worry about that. They can invite as many as they want, isn't it? But how many people actually take it up is what we need to be concerning ourselves with. Maybe 30% take up rate. Why? They don't have a job offer. They don't have a job offer. And you are already where you are. Maybe you're doing a remote site access. The company is based there, but there's a subsidiary down here. You got a job. Move. If those things factor into your movement down here and you getting a job, you'd be silly not to move, is what I'm saying.
This question is from my side.
Okay.
Because I have been getting a lot of questions from the clients, and they ask me, they say if they have already got the job offer, and they lodged the EOI, does that give them preference over other people who doesn't have jobs? No. So it doesn't matter, right?
That's a super question, right? And really, really super question, in the sense that some people have such a misconception that, I can't apply for WA because I don't have a job offer. Yeah, you can't apply, but it also doesn't say you need a job offer to apply. But if you are already knocking on the doors, you've been tentatively assured that you are going to get a job, and you don't want to lose out on all of that, you make an invitation and you apply. And when you are invited, that's when you need a job offer. And because when you are invited, you're not saying and you're not claiming points on the fact that you've been working. Because you can say you've been working maybe 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 11 months, but not 12 months, isn't it? Because when it's 12 months, that's when you're going to get extra 5 points. Most of them are not in that position. Yeah, makes sense, right, Anna? Yeah.
Another question is from Ali Zain. I applied for nomination 190 graduate stream on 6th of October 2021. So I think he's saying WA nomination. Submitted all the documents. When will it be processed?
As in, he's got invited?
He got invited. He accepted and applied for the nomination.
You should be 1.5, 2 months, maximum 3. And don't be afraid to call them, say, hey, it's Ali down here. Ali, right?
Yeah.
So you remember me, this and that. Then they will tell you, I need this and that, the other. But by and large, you're in safe hands. But if your current visa is expiring, or if you're 485 or whatever visa that you are about to expire, show them proof that you basically have D-Day, which is about to expire. I got one approved in 24 hours. So, yeah. That's because the guy's visa was expiring, so they had no choice. But in your case, sit tight, wait, because you've just only applied. So I don't think you should, worry too much. General waiting time is 2.5, 3 months. Yeah.
Afsana is asking when will be the next WA 190 invitation round.
Is this the time I do this and pray and close my eyes and say, oh?
We wish we could. Yeah, we had.
A good question, right? So everybody was asking September round. Perfect example. When is the invitation? When is the invitation for September? September came and went. And Anna and I, on all of us down here, were like, oh, gee, what's going to happen? And the very next day, Anna was like, October, invitation will not happen. That was for September.
Yeah.
So, and then they have 2 invitation rounds in October. So I cannot predict that. I cannot predict that. And sometimes they've invited people on the 15th of the month, sometimes on the 20th. Sometimes we thought for the worst. We thought that September came and went. We thought, oh my God, they're not inviting anybody anymore. So we were quite shocked and sad. And then the invitation happened. And then 20 years later, it happened again. So it was good. I think they revised this in a way because they made changes to the general stream that I just spoke to you about, where now they've realized probably in hindsight that a lot of people on general stream were applying on 105 and all Victoria and whatever other states. And then that's when they made the change only about a week and a half ago to say, hang on, they're going to give preference to people who are residing down here. So let's be honest, let's be factual about this at the same time. These things have made a difference in deciding not only the ranking system that I've spoken about that you are aware of at the same time. It just determines how fast, how soon are they going to be inviting more people for that matter. Now, if they're going to get less people now on the general stream, we are hoping that the graduate occupation list, who people who are graduates down here, they might incentivize them instead. So let's hope that happens. So Titan.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Vishwas, is it possible to get G2G pass to come to WA if I have an offer letter for a job?
Why not? I mean, that's a pretty good enough reason, isn't it? Because then you want to show that, again, join all the dots, mention all those things. I've been this and that, the other, I've been invited, or I'm in this, because people sitting there, they're quite clueless in regards to your immediate circumstances and your need. And if you're saying that you have been offered, you need to come through, you've been in pandemic, wherever you are, whether a job you need to, and you're a student and you are going through all kind of crazy hardships, then you are applying for a G2G specifically for that reason, and you should be getting it. I mean, you should be. I'm not saying that it's a guaranteed thing. They are very, very strict on this G2G, man. I think what we were talking about, Anna, offline, that they might introduce that in January, Feb in WA, because we were shrugging our shoulders too, hoping that when is that going to happen? Hopefully, a month and a half, two ago, they were saying, oh, okay, borders might open Christmas, people can move around. Suddenly, within 72 hours, it just went on, oh, maybe Jan, now Feb. Maybe they bring it back. I don't know.
We are in dark as well, so we don't know much.
Yep.
You have already answered this question, I believe. It's asking about how long it's going to take for the state nomination application. 2-3 months, you said, max.
2-3 months after you've submitted all these documents to them, they will verify everything and try to give them everything at one go. Don't just give them piecemeal, like you're feeding a little bird. Give them everything they need. If they got that, you should be good to go. Shouldn't have a problem.
Okay. For WA, do we have to lodge both EOI and ROI?
There's no ROI in WA.
Any chance for carpentry with 85 points for 190 if someone is residing in WA?
Absolutely. I've got clients who got invited, and they were very, very happy they got invited in the August round, and they were delighted. So yeah, that's a very good chance.
Wahid is asking if he can apply for uni in Sydney for May intake. Yeah, Wahid, if you can just contact us, our office, and we can pass on your inquiry to one of our education consultants.
Thank you, Anna.
Same thing. Taxation accountant, how many points needed for 190 visa?
Okay, this is good, right? So we've had, fair to say, 80, 85. You should strongly stand a very good chance now, both on the general as well as the graduate occupation list for sure. So that's not a problem, right? Because they've really made accountants the flavor of the month all again. Not just hopefully for the month of October, but for the coming months. And they have been a long-suffering bunch of professionals. And GOL, the graduate stream, shouldn't be a problem. And I think, Anna, we know from our stats that I think those are the cutoff that we had internally from some of them, 80, 85, yes.
Another question, Alfred, he's offshore. He's saying, I've been researching about the Skill Select program and I've realized that some skilled occupation, such as valuer, has never received any EOI invitation since 2018.
Such as what? Such as?
Valuer.
Oh, Valuer. Okay, yeah.
I've also realized that the ranking system largely favors applicants who are already within Australia. In light of this, what sort of motivation can an offshore skilled worker think of to continue applying in the face of the outranking?
See, firstly, you're talking about being an offshore applicant, trying to be invited for different states. And we were talking about WA. Now, if you put all of those things that you just mentioned for an occupation that seemingly was on the 189 medium to long-term skills list too, and even if you had 85, 90, 95 points, they don't seem to be inviting. You're right. So either there is a deliberate attempt to make sure that people who then are residing here, who've studied here, who've contributed in some way, then depending on which state they are, and correspondingly after they check and they apply, and then they position themselves as a little bit like, you see a train coming, it's already packed, but you have to go and you are already at the platform. You are still trying to get your way in that. This is exactly how the whole system has sort of been designed right now, has become, I should say. So if you're offshore, you're trying to say, I'm on 90 points. Why am I not getting an invite? Now, different states, and you go and check on South Australia. As of last month, South Australia specifically have opened up offshore applicants for their 190 and 491. So I strongly suggest you go and look into that. See what are the variables and where do you fit into that perhaps can position you to jostle your way into this very crowded runaway train called state invitations. Can't comment on that.
I've got another question. I get a lot of these as well. So if someone gets invited for 491 and they have lodged 190 EOI as well, they always say, should I accept the invitation? If I lodge the state nomination or the 491 itself, can I accept the 190 later?
All right. So let's put a little let's catch it from here, from the jugular, and then just say exactly what this is. I've said this before and I'll say it again, right? I'm talking about WA, right? So if you are invited in one calendar year for a 491, and you will. Why? Because if you're on 80 points, or if you're on 75 points, heck, if you're on 70 points, plus 15, you get 85. Skill Select will automatically pick up people on the highest point first. All the other variables we've already spoken about. And then you'll be thinking, oops, but I actually want 190. But because you have 85 points, Skill Select just picks you up and says, hey, I want to dance with you. And you're like, I don't quite like this music. I'm a bit of more of a whatever, right? You want to do with a 190. Now, if you accept the 491 in this calendar year, and you know the calendar year is from July to the middle of July and June to June, right? You know what exactly I'm talking about. So we are running in November. If you get invited on the, let's call it 23rd of November, and you get 491, listen very carefully, we want to repeat this again, but chances are we might get a question again. If you accept the 491, and you give them all the documents that they need, they spend a month and a half, to come back to you and say, I need this and that, the other, you are still eligible for 190 because they haven't locked in your 491. If they've approved it, this is everything checks out. Here you go. You sign and you accept that. When you accept that, you have categorically told them, I'm happy with the 491, I'm going ahead. So they lock you in. You won't be invited for your 190 at all in this calendar year. I repeat, you will not be invited for the calendar year for the 190. All right? That's just how it works.
So is it if the state nomination is approved, then they won't be invited, but if they don't accept the 491
so if you accept the invitation, accepting it means, oh, I'm giving you whatever you need, the contract, this and that, you're accepting it. You're giving it to them. They check, they verify, they approve it, and then you sign, and that's when it's closed.
Yeah. So if they don't accept it, then they can still feel free to wait.
Absolutely. If you don't accept this, that's fine.
Okay. But what if they accepted the 491 for other state? Then is that okay for them to wait for, because there are a lot of people who do that as well.
Yeah.
Like interstate people, they apply for New South Wales or Victoria, 491, they get invited, they lodge the state nomination, and then now all these changes has happened for WA.
Correct. That's again a good question, right? So now, look, Skill Select will invite you regardless of which state you are and how you are, if you met the requirements of that particular state. Some states require you to do an ROI, which is what the other questions were asking. And some of them, if it's straight up an EOI, you get invited or you don't get invited. Same thing, if you get invited in one particular state, you've been locked in. I think going on to the next one would probably be not a problem, because they can't lock you in for that purpose, because you're still open for invite.
Other states.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we get a lot of these questions as well.
Yeah. So just understand that 491, you accept this, close, they sign, they seal. You are not eligible for WA for the next calendar year. They've told us a million times. They just know, unless there's some crazy exceptional circumstances, then that moves on.
Another question is from Ryan. Job offer as in a formal contract, or is casual employee to with the same employer for a year okay? So formal. I'm assuming
it's a full-time contract, proper contract, minimum 35 hours a week, from a company that is fully registered, 12 months. All that information is in some serious 9 or 10 bullet points at the bottom of that page in the state nomination list. Tells you exactly what is the composition of this employment contract, who can, how, and what. It's all there. So it's not casual, it's a full-time. Now let's say you mentioned the word casual, it just got me thinking. Let's say you can't get a full-time contract from one place. Again, the roles and responsibilities is the same, duties virtually the same. If you're getting that from employer A for 20 hours, no problems. Keep that. Go to employer B, get 15 hours. Combine both. I've done this numerous times. Submit. You meet the requirements of 35 hours a week. No problems. Can be done. It's just how you do it. That's all.
Got another question from Sunny.
Cool. Same thing. I knew this thing is going to be a very hot topic. Yeah.
Sunny and Harish is like kind of similar question.
Sunny and Harish is like Bonnie and Clyde, right?
Yeah. So same thing, 491, 115 points for accountant.
115 points? What is this?
For 491.
Oh, for 491. Yeah, okay, all right.
So, and then what are the chances without being here? Harish is asking same thing. What are the chances for interstate applicants without coming to WA? So
even if they have you can have 255 million points, is what I'm trying to say to you. And that's specifically why I said that the ranking system is now designed primarily if you are a resident in WA. They have a ranking system, and it will outbid you, outmuscle you, because you're 115, as opposed to someone who's got 85 points just because they are resident down here. They will get the invitation. Skill Select picks that up. So if you're in a position to get a G2G pass, sit on a drone, fly through the desert, come through the Nullarbor, or if you are amphibious, you can swim through and come through wherever. Be my guest. Drive if you want to, can, but still, But if you can enter and come to WA, which is the best place in the world, by the way, since we are ambassadors of this place, then you stand a chance, a very good chance, I should say, a hell of a very good chance for the points that you have.
Salman, if you're listening, he has got the same question. Victoria, 491, 80 points. He has to come down here to get.
So Salman, that's what they will do. Or you become an actor, you become Salman Khan. I don't know.
A different question. Is there any expiry date for Ngati CCL in regards to the immigration, as it didn't state any expiry date in legislation? Please respond.
I thought Ngati, I don't know, I thought it was 4 years. I may be wrong. Never really pick on that. We normally check on PTEs and IELTS, which is 3 years, and skills assessment and all that. Ngati could be 4 if I'm not wrong. Could be wrong, 4 or 2. I'm happy to check. I mean, it's not something that, if you are in that situation that you think, oh, gee, is it 2 years or 4 years? While Anna is Googling this as quickly as she possibly can. No, okay.
Salman actually responded he's currently residing in Pilbara. So he's in WA.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so
excellent. Salman, if you're up there, good news. Carnarvon, they found Cleo. She's alive. Brilliant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Great news. Let's say on live.
The best news.
Yeah, best news ever.
I can quickly check if there's
Ngati,
any expiry date for Ngati.
I think there is, but I'm not sure 2 or 4.
3 years.
3 years?
Ngati skills assessment are valid for 3 years.
3 years. There you go. 3 years it is.
Okay, Ryan, he's saying if your employer on a casual basis, will you automatically be refused for 491 or 190? He's not meeting the requirement, right? Casual basis.
So you see, casual basis. I know what he's trying to say. Your employment contract can say you're a full-time employee, but they could call you a permanent casual, and you got 35 hours a week, by the way. But if you're worried that what the title actually says, that you're a full-time is full-time, you've got 35 hours a week, it's just play with a bit of the words in how the contract is actually written and what actually says that what you're actually doing. Try not to have the word casual down there, but if you are full-time, but you're only offered 35 hours, not even 38 or 42 or whatever, then there's something that you can just sort of work around, trying to demonstrate and explain to the state nomination team, and they're pretty cool. If you tell them, well, my contract, my employer, according to Fair Work, is this, and this is how I fall under, and my hours and my salary. That's a pathway you go into if you're in that sort of situation. But you can't be below 35. You just can't say you're a floating casual or any of those phrases that people tend to use on some of the contracts. How are we doing? Are we there yet?
Almost.
Yeah.
Soumya, analyst programmer for 85, including 5 points from state, 90 points for New South Wales, 90. Do you reckon is there any chance?
I don't know. New South Wales, I'm kind of losing my hope. They were so gung-ho, yes, we need this, we need to do that and everything else, but some people from here have applied under Stream 3, where it didn't require them to be resident there or job offer or anything. Very high points, but just don't seem to be invited. So if you are in that bracket, then that's fine, but if you are in the other one, in the Stream 1 and 2, then you just wait, because that's pretty high points. But if you're on Stream 3, like I just mentioned, I've got a lot of clients that have done everything. I've done ROI, I've done the EUI. Nothing seems to be happening, and getting quite frustrated.
So we get asked a lot of questions like, okay, for this occupation, how many points are required? For this occupation, how many points are required?
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so right? it never, for WA, it doesn't.
No, it just doesn't. I don't think so. It works across the board at the same time, because it's skill select. Skill select is going to select you on points. They never say you need to have such an occupation.
No. I'm asking. So we always get questions like, how many points for mechanical engineer? How many points for chef?
Got it.
So is there any way to tell, like, okay, you need this many points?
Okay. I see your point. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Maybe I didn't word it properly.
No. Okay. So yeah. Yes, we do get that question quite a lot. That I'm a chef. I'm on 80 points. I've my EOI for 7 months. How come I haven't got an invite? And then they see our post in the last round. We had someone on 85 points who was invited, and they're like, when was his EOI? There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of variables. Look, let's take finance managers and taxations and general accountants as an example. Now, 190, if you had 80 points, you were invited for finance manager. You had 75 points, you were invited for finance manager, which is not bad. And then you put that across with some other occupations who are mechanical engineers. It'll be very rare if you're a mechanical engineer. Say again, I cannot go into all occupations. I'm just doing across the board. It's very rare not to be invited on a specific 190. Okay, so if you take just for a second, I understand your question about specifically mechanical engineers. How many points did they get invited? I understand that fully well. Or I mean, computer network systems engineer, I'm on 80 points. How come I didn't get invited? My friend did this in 15 days. How come they got invited? We get all this kind of questions. We says, look, let's look into so many other factors in which were they subjected to any other ranking? Did they have proficient English? That's all of that comes into play in determining when and why this person never got invited for that matter.
So isn't the points the last thing in the ranking? They go
into that. They go into residing, they go into qualifications. Correct. Exactly, Anna. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So points, it actually doesn't play like that.
Not as much. Yeah. Not as much. Not as much. This is where I specifically printed out again at the same time. You're currently residing. If you're residing in another state and if you're a WA grad, oh, now we're not going to give you preference as well. So that's all has changed.
Yeah.
You know, so if you've done PhD and masters, you're going to go up at the same time. So you're comparing apples to apples down here. You got bachelor's, you got masters. You don't know that, and you say, oh, but I understand the same points. How is this guy? Oh, because they had masters. Oh, we had 7 each. They had 8 each.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, gee. Yeah. So those are the things, right? So just bear that in mind.
Yeah. So people who are asking mechanical engineer, how many points? You need to give us a bit more information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But by and large, look, ballpark, everyone seemingly, if you're a professional, you have something above 75. All right. So just remember that. So we probably let Anna go through if she's one last really different question than the ones that we've already asked. We're just sifting through some of them. But most of you have already asked the similar questions. Hey, I'm offshore. I'm this number of points. How best? I think you got the answer. New ranking system really requires you to be resident to get a better chance. That's clear. Section 48, you already know how or what. If you are affected, get in touch with me, please, because I'll tell you exactly how to get around as of November 13. New list, you already know, accountants are back, taxation accountants are back onto the the graduate list at the same time. That's all very, very good. We spoke about the recent round, and you know exactly how that works. I think that's also very clear. Just making sure that I've covered everything else. I think fairly certain to say it was a very good round. We don't know when that's going to happen. We had a few questions about that at the same time. So if you are affected, or if you're in a position that you think you haven't not lodged an EOI, or you still want to just position yourself in, oh, shall I accept the 491 first? What's going to happen to 190 and all that? Don't worry about all that. Ask the right questions first and let us make an informed decision and make the best for you. Now, we are literally in the mood down here in Canningville. It's in the midst of the Festival of Lights. It is Diwali. So for all that who are listening in and tuning in, we do wish you a happy. I think I should do this live. Happy Diwali, but I'm going to do this little thing. So hey, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. If you have a question, please tune in, ask, fire away, and wish you best of luck in all your journeys and whatever you're doing, and let us know. From me and Anna, thank you very much. Signing off from Perth.
Thank you, Dharmindher. Just letting everyone know that I have put all your details in the post, and also there is a form that you can click and submit if you have any question about WA state nomination. Okay. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Bye.